Gwen Moore from Wisconsin. Where's Gwen? Mike Honda, California. Where is Takano?
Right here.
You are. Good to see you, Mark. So these members of Congress and others have been very dedicated to making sure that our democratic values and our democratic agenda really is translated into legislation and into a resistance movement on the floor, given the fact that the Tea Party is running the show. And so thank you all for being here. Thank you for your support. Let me now ask the co-chair of the platform committee, Governor Malloy, to come forward from Connecticut, who did a phenomenal job co-chairing this and keeping this on track in Orlando. We really thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Let me just say to all of you who contributed so mightily to this effort, thank you very much. You kind of sent it my way. I just want to say that this was a tremendous team effort. It's a great document. It's been said many times, the most progressive document that the Democratic Party has put forward in decades, perhaps. I think the largest amount of change from one document to another ever in our history, and you should be congratulated, and I want to thank everybody who contributed, and that was everybody who was in the room with us in Orlando, and all the folks who were worked on this along the way, and the Congresswoman did so much very, very good work. I also see Andy Grossman here. The staff did an unbelievable job, and I don't know whether you remember, but I don't know whether Courtney's here to read the next amendment.
She needs to speak.
But listen, thank you very much for everything you've done, and I know we have some other speakers. I just wanted to stop by and say how grateful I have been to work with such qualified, wonderful people as all of you. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Governor. Let me acknowledge the staff. Where is Quinn? Is Quinn here? Quinn, I have to thank you, Andy, and your family. I know you've been missing in action for a while, but Andy and Quinn and the entire staff, they have been phenomenal day and night on helping to make sure this document was an inclusive document. They made sure that the people who testified represented the diversity of this country on all fronts, and give them another round of applause because they so deserve it. I'm going to ask now, where's Danny? Someone who has been a friend for many, many years. He's an activist, he's a political advisor, he's an actor. He's a brilliant human being who has been involved in social justice movements and movements for human rights around the world. Danny Glover, come on up here.
All those adjectives she used applies to her more directly than me. So thank you, but I want to thank you for all being here, making your presence here. And it's extraordinary, just the evolution of work and the kind of work that has happened around this campaign. I've had the great fortune of being with Bernie Sanders throughout this campaign, and the young voices that came to the table, the message that was left with this campaign of building an ongoing movement, a continuous movement of activism and everything else. And I can only think about the long length of time that the Congresswoman and I've known each other, from the anti-apartheid movement and before the anti-apartheid movement to Haiti, to Cuba, wherever it was, she would stand tall. And for her to play this strategic role at this point in our history and to bring people together, with a document in which we can sink our teeth in and begin to work and begin to reform this nation, as Bernie has so eloquently stated over his campaign. I'm proud to be here, to be able to host this with her, and I'm glad she asked me, and certainly we have work to do to defeat Donald Trump. Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I tell you, I don't know what we would do without your voice, Danny. Let me also take a moment to thank my staff, Julie, and everybody here from my staff who volunteers day and night to make sure that Team Lead functions. Thank you guys. Give my staff a round. They're the ones who do this. I was staff for 11 years, so I know how all this work gets done. So thank you guys. Also, in his absence, I don't think Elijah is here, but I have to just congratulate and thank Elijah Cummings, who was chair of our drafting committee at the platform. Elijah Cummings was phenomenal in how he was fair, he was tough, and he got it. And so when you see Elijah Cummings, he was brilliant last night. Let him know how much we love him and appreciate his service. Now I want to bring up someone who paved the way for so many of us to be elected to Congress and other elected offices, someone who really changed the political landscape of America, who taught us a lot about grassroots organizing and the power of people in terms of voter registration and political empowerment. And that's my friend who, I was a delegate for him in '84 and then in '88. And I tell you, he really has changed my life. And I am forever indebted to you, Jesse Jackson. Come forward now.
Thank you. Let me express my thanks to God for this moment in time. Using Bernie and Jane in such a powerful way to sustain our hopes and remove our fears. I wish Dr. King were here today just for a moment to see the fruits of his labors and what has come from his spilled blood to redeem us in so many ways. My anxiety is a friend of Bernie's, sincerely, that of Hillary, and must at some point be able to be a part of the healing process. It kind of comes down to this, and it's all over. There's a regular season, and there's a playoff, and there's a Super Bowl. The Golden State Warriors did very well in regular season. They almost lost the playoff, it's a different season. They lost the Super Bowl. There are phases in this struggle. 1960, Kennedy and Johnson at the 99th hour finally got it together. And the vote in Illinois, the black district basically led by Dawson, was the difference. He won Illinois and he won Ohio. If he had not gotten Johnson, not picked up the Jefferson Davis South, he couldn't have won. We're here. I remember in '68 when Dr. King was killed, April 4th, and our hearts were bleeding, and Robert Kennedy came to the funeral. And then he was killed June 5th. The movement for peace continued. Big struggle in Chicago in the park where Barack was announced the winner. We were bleeding in that park, Grant Park, '68. Because of the anger of members of the Progressive, which Humphrey didn't pull away from, Johnson fought enough fast enough. We kind of laid down, and by the margin of our laying down, Nixon eased through the crack. That's what happened. Progressives lost their enthusiasm in the '68 campaign, and despair overran hope. 1980, Kennedy couldn't quite shake Carter's hand in New York. Couldn't quite get there. Reagan eased through the crack. In 2000, another situation with someone at NADA. 4 million votes. Progressives couldn't choose between Gore and Bush. Bush ended up winning with 2,500 votes, 27,000 were just counted in DeVal County in Florida. We're here again. I watched Bernie struggle last night to say, don't just admire me, follow me. We're here again. Don't be responsible for electing Trump on the back door vote. There will be one or two winners on the morning of the November 9th, Hillary or Trump. I'm astonished in many ways how somebody who threatens to deport 15 million people could be in the running. Threatens our eternal neighbor, Mexico, with whom we share 2,000 miles of border. And those will trade with every day than we do with China and Japan. I'm astonished. And someone was talking about banning Muslims. There are more Muslims than there are Americans, our trading partners around the world. There is a fascist factor here. There's a factor here that is threatening to threaten NATO in ways that's destabilizing Europe. And yet here we are. Worst news is the scab has been pulled off the cancer. Best news, if we fight back, we win. If we fight back, we win. It's going to be Hillary, healing, and hope. Anything less than that will not be enough. Close on this note. The substance of it. In Philadelphia today, the 400,000 with a criminal record out of 1,000,005. Most of them will not vote. Some can't, some think they can't. 500,000 functionally illiterate in Philadelphia today in Philadelphia. Most of them will not vote. They're ours, but they will not vote. And we will not, unless we work for them, hell, that won't happen. In Louisiana, there are 700,000 blacks unregistered. They are nominally Democrats. Will we register them? They're ours. That's our cotton to pick. The 1,000,002 blacks eligible in South Carolina, 900,000 registered. Last election, the governor won by 40,000 votes. 40,000 blacks registered didn't vote. That's our crowd. Really, the South is ours if we fight back, for example.
Yeah.
When you think about the huge 800,000 Georgia unregistered in Georgia, this is our zone. And if we who would dare be exalted to be leaders will close ranks, and sometimes while there's the loser has pain and the winner has joy, but then the winner must have grace and the loser must maintain dignity. And we must run even as we get well. We don't have the 100 days to get well after Friday. And champions sometimes live with pain. We fall down, we get up. I'll close on this note. When I was walking not long ago, Bernie, there was a broken sidewalk. And I thought about, it was broken, I thought about in the brokenness, it was there to cover the mud and not let grass grow, but it was broken, and in the cracks was grass and a little flower blossoming. And I thought, so much of our lives is not whole hunks of concrete. It's life in the cracks. We're in the crack. Those who live in parts and cracks and pieces must pick up the broken pieces and send Trump back home. But Trumpism is on the loose. It will outlast the campaign. Even if there is a victory for us November 8th, the ism that he is up, the fascism is real and it's hit in every local election, in every state election, every state house. What has been unleashed is here for a long time. So our struggle in many ways has just begun. Bernie, we're in your debt. Thank you very much.
I mentioned earlier the chair of our steering committee, platform steering committee, who really chaired with such a steady yet tough and gentle hand and allowed all voices to be heard with dignity in a true democratic way. And I want to just ask Congressman Cummings to come up now and say a few words, because he did a magnificent job in bringing us all together.
Thank you very much. I'm going to be very brief because I know we want to hear from Bernie. But I want to start off by saying to thank Bernie for what you've done. The media, Jesse, today has come up to me and said, aren't you upset that people heckled you when you were talking about your father, who only had a fourth grade education from South Carolina? And aren't you upset that, you know, when you were talking about the pain that your father felt all his life, because he wasn't able to get that education, there were people saying some unkind things. And I said, no, I was not upset. I said, because I realize that people want a change. They do want change. And I said, the same people that at one time would have been not even involved in politics, and definitely wouldn't have been in the room. They have now been brought under the tent. And to me, that is so very, very important. And I want to thank you, Bernie, for what you've done. And I really mean that. Thank you. And the other thing I wanted to say is that, you know, and the thing that really touched me, Bernie, today, I had so many people, young people, who came up to me and said, Congressman, we didn't know your story. These are Bernie people. We apologize. I've heard that at least 100 times a day. I've heard it from unions. We apologize. We didn't know your story. And so I said to them, I just want you to know I love you. I'm just glad you're here. And now, but Jesse talks about this all the time. There is no way that we can accomplish the things that we want to accomplish unless we have a coalition. You got to have the coalition.
Rainbow coalition.
And so when I think, last but not least, let me leave you with this. I want to thank, one of the greatest opportunities of my life was to chair the drafting committee, because we had 15 people who came together, and Barbara was my champion, trying to make sure that we had, as what Bernie described, as one of the most progressive platforms ever. And so and all of them came with such passion. And if you have not read the platform, I beg you to sit down and read it. And so I'm just honored to be a part of all of this. And I know that this moment, you know, my father, last night I wanted to say it, but I didn't get a chance to say it. My father would have been so proud of us. A man who I'll never forget, Jesse, when he came and watched me get sworn in. He saw me put up my right hand and Newt Gingrich was swearing me in. And I looked up in the stands and there's my father with tears running down his face. And I said, Daddy, why are you crying? He said, son, ain't this the place, son, that they used to call us chattel? Ain't this the place, son, that they used to call us 3/5 of a man? Ain't this the place that the slaves built? And he said, they gonna give you a vote up in here? But then he said something that I will never forget, and every day that I walk into the chambers of the Congress of the United States of America, I never forget. He said, I said, were you crying because I became a congressman? He said, that's not why I'm crying. He said, when I look at your hand and I look at my hand, I look at your hand, I look at my hand, I realize that the blood that runs through your hand runs through my hand. And he said, now, in the twilight of my life, now that I see what you've accomplished, he said, now I see what I could have been. What I could have been. And shortly after that, he died. And so that's what we bring to the table. So I have the same passion that the Bernie people have, the same passion that the members of our platform have, the same passion that Barbara Lee has. We're all in this together. And so, again, Bernie, I thank you. I thank all of them. And this is the champion right here. I love to play this.
By everyone who spoke, not only was this a democratic process that we engaged in, but it was something we truly believed in, in terms of the direction of our country. So thank you so much, Elijah, for those very powerful and humbling remarks. Before I ask Senator Sanders to come forward, I just want to mention one thing. I was on the drafting committee 4 years ago, and I tried, when I went back to Congress, to talk to my colleagues about how great the platform was. All of my colleagues said, would you sit down? Nobody cares about the platform. What are you telling us? It's like, so what? Nobody reads it, okay? So, okay. So I said, maybe I'll try again. So that was why I wanted to really participate on the steering committee this time. knowing that our platform this time would become a living document, that people would understand the importance in terms of the direction of the country and who we are as Democrats and what our values are. And so that's the I think moment for me that was so important to have a document. When the platform came to the drafting committee from the Clinton campaign, it was a progressive platform then. It was more progressive than the last platform we did 4 years ago. And so we built upon that at the steering committee and at the full platform committee. And Bernie, I just have to say it, I've known Bernie for many years now. You remember we campaigned in my district against Section 215 of the Patriot Act. You know, we were on the banking committee together. Yeah, we did that, libraries and the press. We were on the banking committee together, and it was myself, Bernie, and Maxine that voted against all these the terrible Wall Street bills, you know. And so, you know, I know Bernie Sanders and the fairness upon which he moves forward with his agenda. And so that's why on the platform committee and the drafting committee, I just want to acknowledge the Clinton and the Sanders people, because you all reflected what Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders really wanted, and that's to come together in unity to come up with a good, strong, progressive platform that this time when we talk about it to our colleagues, they'll know that they got to read it and know what's in it, because it's a living document that the American people are going to hold us accountable to and want to know what's in it. Yeah. And that's because of Bernie Sanders. So thank you so much.
I'm going to introduce Jane. I'm going to introduce Jane. I have to introduce Jane. There would be consequences if I didn't. But let me say something in a very, very serious way. I am moved and I am touched by being up here with people like Jesse Jackson, Elijah Cummings, Barbara Lee. I think history will record. Maybe not well known, maybe it's known by the people in this room, not known by the people in America. But this man, Jesse Jackson, changed the course of American history. That's I was pleased to have been one of the few white elected officials back in '88 that have supported Jesse. And I remember like it was yesterday, coming to Montpelier, Vermont City Hall. We had a hell of a good meeting. And he won Vermont, by the way.
Yes.
Yes.
And when we talk about concepts that everybody takes for granted today, we use the word rainbow coalition. Everybody knows what that means. It means blacks and whites and Latinos and people of different religions all coming together in the struggle for justice. Well, you know what? That concept did not exist before Jesse Jackson. He brought that together. And it goes without saying that so much of our campaign built on what Jesse did in his campaign. So we all owe this man an enormous debt of gratitude. Jesse, thank you. I want to thank Elijah. Where Elijah goes? He still disappeared. I want to thank Elijah not only for doing a great job as the chair of that platform committee, but for the work that he has done for so many years. My father came to the United States of America. You know, you talk about immigration. Came to this country at the age of 17 without a nickel in his pocket. He never made much money. But America was the country for him, and he loved this country because it gave him the opportunity to raise his two kids. My brother is here today. We were lower middle class, we never had money, but raised us in a way that never could have been the case where he came from in Poland. And Barbara Lee, I don't have to say to anybody here, not only did Barbara play a fantastic role in helping to create and bring people together to build this very, very strong platform document. But Barbara has been there for her entire life. Clearly one of the most progressive members of the United States Congress. And I've been very pleased to have worked with Barbara on so many issues. I think what we all
understand, and, you know, maybe Jesse said it better than anyone, that we are in a pivotal moment in American history. There's a lot of anger out there, and people are upset. Yeah, we have come a long way since the dark days of George Bush, when we were losing 800,000 jobs a month. But let's not kid ourselves, not for 1 second, that there are millions and millions of people who are hurting and are hurting very badly today. Let's not forget about that for 1 second. Sometimes it's easy. Sometimes Democrats do this. Oh, think about where we were under Bush, and then, you know, how much better we are today. True enough, but it ain't true enough if you're still out there making $9 an hour and you have no health care, you can't find affordable child care for your kids. 40% of older workers have zero money set aside for their retirement. Can you imagine being 60 years of age and having nothing before you can get to Social Security? Can you imagine that? That's the anxiety that people are living under. And what Trump is doing is playing on that anxiety in the most horrific way imaginable. Telling people, you're angry and you're hurting. Well, it's a Mexican American who works for $8 an hour who's your real problem. It's not Wall Street. It's not corporate America. It's not people who ship your jobs abroad. It's not people who are breaking your unions. It's some poor guy who's trying to take care of his family on $8 an hour. And that's what we're up against. And I am here in the shadow of giants. In the shadow of giants who have paved the way. We're not going to let them down. Yes, it goes back to Dr. King and it goes before Dr. King. We have got to bring our people together around a progressive agenda that works for all Black and white and Latino and Asian American and Native Americans. And by the way, during this campaign, and I know Jesse did as well when he ran, I had the opportunity to talk to a lot of Native Americans. And what I saw stunned me, and I want you all to know, there are people in this country living in third world conditions whose life expectancy is lower than in many poor third world countries here in the United States of America. And what we have got to also understand is we are the richest country in the history of the world. If we were in a poor country, okay, we can't have health care for all people, we can't have decent education, we're poor. We are not poor. We're the richest country in the history of the world. But the people on top, in their greed and their recklessness, they want it all. They want it all. And our job is to bring our people together to say, you know what, health care is a human right for all of our people. That if you work 40 hours a week, you're not going to be living in poverty. You're going to have a living wage. And on it goes. I don't have to give you the whole agenda. You all know it. All right, but our job is, Jesse is right, Barbara's right, Elijah's right, in the next 3 months we're going to work like hell to make sure that this Trump, who is, in my view, the worst presidential candidate, the most dangerous presidential candidate that I have seen in my lifetime. We're going to beat him, and we're going to beat him bad. But what we all understand, that the day after the election is as important as the day before the election. That the struggle continues. The struggle continues. I want to thank I see Deborah here, who's done such a great job on our committee for Native American rights. I see Jim Zogby, who has been a champion for justice in the Middle East. And I know that a lot of other people put a whole lot of time and effort into creating this extraordinary document called the Democratic Platform of 2016. And no, I do not believe that that platform is going to be put up on some shelf. I believe it becomes a beacon of hope, and it is something that we are going to point to. And Barbara, we're going to demand that every Democrat in the United States Congress read that document and that they support the agenda in that document. Thank you. My son Levy is here. My son Dave is here. Jane, as you know, we didn't make it to Alaska. We didn't make it to Hawaii. She did, and we won overwhelming victories in those states. I don't know what that tells you, but
Thank you, Jay. Thanks to your whole family for the sacrifices you made. Thank you. Thank you. Let me close by just recognizing, where's Jim McGovern, who is here? Jim from Massachusetts made sure that we incorporated in the platform some major language on hunger as it relates to being unacceptable. Any child goes to bed hungry in America. So thank you again, Jim. Thank all of you for coming. Have an enjoyable time and on to victory in November.
Yeah. Okay, that's it, y'all. I gotta go out and get something. Here, I'll fill you in later if I can get this done. All right, love you, burners. Bye.